Got that pay for performance pool increase with Angela's presentation, and hopefully you heard in your jurisdictions, we actually have a PERS increase of 0.5% this year, but that is again in our budget and trying to be paid for with RTC.
Answer the I'm going to do it, but Robert wanted to know if conduits got added.
Oh, yes.
On the thing.
Did we end up putting that in?
Yeah.
Okay, so we just haven't finalized the change order. That work's done.
Yeah, it's all done. And we're doing it day before yesterday.
Robert just called me too. I'm sure you've got a voicemail on your phone. He's looking for as-builts from Campbell, all the 4-inch and 2-inch box set locations, everything, because he wants to give it to us.
What's going on in DC and the federal government, the change in administration, particular funding opportunities for us. And then Bonnie Graves is going to follow in with a conversation about the not earmarked program. I can't remember the new name, but yeah. So that's kind of the way we've set it up. I'd ask both of them to give you some information to be able to better understand the situation and help us as we plan our federal program moving forward next year.
I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. Do you hear feedback?
Yep.
Congressman Porter and Anya Graves, are you on?
Figure out what's playing.
Yes. Welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Oh, you were there for a second, and then you went away.
Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you for the introduction, Bill. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be a part of the family, but I wish we were there in person.
I was trying to because it was
again, Chair, we appreciate the opportunity of being with you and the members, and of course, Bill and staff. I want you to know that as part of this team, we work closely with Anya and the Cardinal Group and Jane. And Anya and I are going to share a couple different perspectives on different issues and how it's unfolding in DC, and then we'll of course open it up for any questions that you might have. So first, let me explain a little bit about the environment.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
What is happening? And let me see if anyone can see that.
Share your screen. Cool.
Okay, so let me go back and start recording again. Okay, is anyone hearing feedback anymore? I am so sorry.
You're all good. I think we're ready to go now, right, Leanne?
Yes, sorry guys.
You're good. So even though you heard me about 3 or 4 times on the echoing, we'll just go ahead and just start from the start since we're re-recording this. So let's do call of order. So good morning today. Welcome to the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County Regional Road Impact Fee Technical Advisory Committee meeting. Today is Thursday, April 22nd, 2021, and the time is 8:39 a.m. Leanne, let's do a roll call, please.
Great, thank you, Dale. Alex Belto. Amy Cummings. Amy, do I have you? I see her on the screen, so we'll come back. Brian Stewart.
Here.
Jim Rundle. John Kropotkin.
Here.
John Erickson.
Present.
Craig Knutson.
Present.
Kurt Dietrich. Larry Chesney.
Present.
Mike Michelle,
Here.
Mitch Fink,
Here.
Randy Walter, Shelley Reed,
Here.
Ted Erkin,
Here.
Larry Chesney. Amy, can you hear me now?
Here.
Perfect, great. We do have a quorum. Dale, I also show that from the RTC, we have Adam Spear, Blaine Peterson, Dale Keller, Hannah Yu, Yelena Williams, Leanna Olivas, Stephanie Haddock, Schwinn Wang, and Yini Russo. Did I miss anyone from the RTC? And for guests, I show Kelly Mullen. Any other guests? Okay.
Great, thank you, Leanne. Let's move on to agenda item number 2, public comment. Leanne, have we received any public comment for the meeting?
We did not.
Okay. No action is needed on this item. Let's move to the agenda item number 3, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by John, second by Brian. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to number 4, consent items. This is the 4.1 is just, actually we'll take all the items, it's just one for the meeting minutes. Any discussion or motion for consent item agenda number 4?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, agenda item number 5. And we'll take 5.1, acknowledge receipt of a report of the RRIF General Administration Manual or GAM update and the vehicles miles traveled VMT rates proposed to be included in the capital improvement plan for possible action. So I will lead this agenda item, and I just sent out to the group, to the committee, a PDF of the presentation, so you can follow along at home if you like as I pull this up. Can everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to just start off this agenda item is for just an update of the progress we're making to the 7th edition GAM and where we are and where we're the next steps and where we need to be. So first off the bat, I want to talk about the development of the RRIF fee process. You've seen this chart before as what the information we take from the TMRPA land development model, consensus forecast to the RTC travel demand model, and also what comes out of the 2050 RTP. So this presentation is going to be focused on the growth aspect of it. So when I mean growth, I mean the VMT side, or vehicles miles traveled, and where we anticipate this growth to occur based off the TMRPA land model as well as the traffic or travel demand model. So in order to calculate our RRIF fees and what is the growth input that we need, it's these 5 bullet points that we need to help determine the growth needs and inputs. So the first is the population. As you'll see, we'll break down between the North and the South benefit districts for our RRIF program. Next is the employment forecast of where the jobs are happening and what type of jobs and where. Next is the trip lengths by service area. So part of that travel demand model, we're able to break down what the trip length is for the North and South benefit district. And then also we use these trip generation rates by the 10th edition of the ITE to help us generate what that for each of those development units per land use would be for those BMTs. At the end of the day, that helps us with our schedule and our overall fee rate. So let's talk what's coming out of the TMRPA consensus forecast. I know Jeremy Smith with TMRPA provided a presentation at the end of last year, and these numbers come directly from that agreed upon and approved consensus forecast. So 2 rows I want to bring your attention to is first on the 2020 row. This is not based off the 2020 census, just on the consensus forecast, and the total population in the benefit districts are roughly 472,000 as population. As we look at for growth wise and what we anticipate based off the consensus forecast of 2030, we're over about 526,000 people living in the Washoe County area. And so once again, this is based off of consensus forecast, and we're concerned about the next 10 years to help develop that fee. So even though we projected out to 2040 and 2050, we're focused on the growth that's happening in the year of 2030 for developing that VMT and that possible RRIF fee. And the second bullet point you see is employment and the forecast, consensus forecast. This shows where the jobs are at between the North and South. If you see in 2020, you see the majority of the jobs between industrial, commercial, and other majority are in the South compared to the North Benefit District. And just as maybe I'll take a step back, our benefit districts are between North and South. That dividing line is the Interstate 80 or I-80. So anything north, that's north, and south is south. Kind of self-explanatory there. Also, you see on the right side, bottom right, is the 2030 projections of where these jobs would be. You do see growth in both areas, south and north, and more so, more overall jobs growth even in the south. From that TMRPA model, we develop our travel demand model internal here at the RTC with Xuan Wang, help generating what that would look like on the different travel demands. So Xuan also provided a presentation late last year as well. So this is just some of the key highlights of how we generate our fee. Here's a good depiction of the North and South benefit districts and where we're including that. And just as a point of clarification too, you see some of the different boxes and models that are along the, I'd say, I-80 East into Line County and to Fernley. Those are not included into our calculations for the RRIF fee. It's just inside the benefit district you see highlighted. So we don't use the whole model. We take what's in these highlighted zones between the green and the blue. And from that, we develop our trip distance on regional roads. So if you look at the graph on the left, the orange sections of the route are used for the regional road distances. So we don't include in our model or even in the RRIF fees, the whole trip length. It's just what you see in orange, only when they use regional roads. And we take out what's actually used on interstate systems or local streets as well. So we apply that for all the different types of trips that you see, all the dots of all the zones, and you get the average length, the trip length between the north and south. So the algorithm uses that and develops those trips between the zones, and then we can calculate the average trip length. So what came out of the travel demand model and what's identified here in the 2050 RTP are these different daily average trip lengths for 2030. You see the north area is 3.58 and then the south is 3.46. This is a growth between what was identified in the 6th edition of the GAM and the CIP, and I think that's to be expected. And we can have happy to answer any questions about the growth on these average trip lengths. Between myself or Xuan. And one thing to note you see on the bottom too is that a new and updated travel demand model was created for the 2050 RTP, and we can discuss that in more detail if you like.
Hi Dale, this is Jen. This is Jen Wang with RTC Planning. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to clarify if Dale, you go to this slides. No, this one here. I just want to mention that these tree plans are initial look using the new model. So we're still working on the model. And as we continue through this process, these numbers may be changed a little bit.
Actually, and that's a great point. And everything you see is draft format, and we are vetting that through our consultant we have on board, as well as dotting our I's and crossing our T's on making sure that we are the model makes sense, and we're double or triple checking that. But we just want to provide the committee an update of where we are today. So from here, we take this data to develop what is our north travel demand and our growth of weekday VMT. So we take a look at the bottom of the chart, highlighting green, bottom right. It's between 2020 to 2030, we see a growth of over 325,000 vehicles mile traveled on a weekday average. If you compare that to what we have in the 6th edition for the North Travel Command model is roughly about 322,000. So it's about a 1% growth difference between what we had in the 6th edition. And as a reminder, the 6th edition was from 2019 to 2029. And the other thing on that too, we're using the 2040 RTP model associated with that, not the updated TMRPA consensus forecast or this new travel demand model as well. For the South, you see on the bottom, it's 200,000 VMT. And once again, this is all draft. We're reviewing this and confirming that we have the correct inputs. So this is actually a reduction that what we had in the 6th edition. And so we had roughly 230,000 VMTs in the 6th edition, and this is about 200,000 in the proposed 7th edition that we're looking through. That's about a 7%, 8% decrease of those VMTs. So the next step, so we talked about the growth step that we needed to develop what the VMTs are, that what we are working on right now and vetting with our consultants internal is understanding the capital improvement projects that were presented previously and the costs associated with those projects. Then understanding what the other funding sources we have that are identified in the RTP that would we have to apply first before we apply a RRIF fee associated with that. So that's considering all of our federal funding, all of our state funding, and our regional or local funds, such as fuel tax or sales tax, before we can apply a RRIF fee or a RRIF funds for these capital improvement projects. And that helps us develop our new development funding share. And then at the end of the day, our impact fees summary and fees schedule. So the other status of the 7th edition GAM, to provide an update where we are, we're still going through and clarifying on the eligibility determination. And this is not a wholesale change, it's just a clarification to make sure that as you read the manual, that is clear to you, and as also as we look to apply that consistently, it's clear to us. That's the same thing we're looking on the appeals process. So you'll see an updated presentation in the near future on both the clarity or the changes of the eligibility and appeals process. And the next steps, is as the previous slide said, is that we will present a RRIF fee calculation to this committee next month, as well as in the upcoming months, we'll present any changes to the RRIF GAM and CIP manuals. And then lastly, the schedule wise is you see, oh, I shouldn't say March, it should be May and June, July, that we would be taking this forward and hopefully looking for approval this summer of the approval or recommendation to move forward on the 7th edition RRIF GAM and RRIF CIP. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. This is Craig Knutson. In the meeting, you lined out that we're taking out the traffic signal and operations and intersections, the system-wide on the CIP. Could you explain why that is? Because the last update we did is where we added those in, just for things that come up that are not part of the CIP.
Sure, and that's something we're still considering, Craig, is ensuring that I guess there's clarity of what's eligible or not, and if we make the decision of taking any of those intersection operations out of it, that would just be clarifying how we a more prescriptive CIP versus trying to guesstimate, what's going to be a signal need for a road that comes up.
So be on a count by count basis, whether it's added in or not.
Right. And that's something that goes back to the eligibility determination too. We want to make sure we're clear on that aspect. If we do include signals moving forward in the future, but we just want to make sure that it's clear what's RRIF eligible.
Okay.
Dale, this is John. Hey, what is your anticipated time frame as far as implementing the new fees in the 7th edition?
What I like to do, so we're at the 6th edition right now, and we went through the indexing in December of 2020 on that automation, on the automatic basis, right? So it'd be great if our goal could be get this implemented by December of this year. But I think that's a little bit aggressive by all the different planning commissions we have to go and present this to, as well as the city councils and the county commission. So that's the goal, is try to do this by the end of the year.
Yeah, I just want to give Teresa Parkhurst and her team a heads up so that they can be ready to implement.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, hearing none. May I have a motion to acknowledge receipt of the report of the RRIF GAM?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Shelley. Any other discussion on this item? Hearing none, may I have, actually, let's, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Moving forward to agenda item number 6, member announcements and updates. Any announcements or updates by the committee? One thing that I know Angela's not with us, and Mike, I don't know if you want to weigh in. I know the city of Reno's also taking a look at affordable housing and understanding how many affordable housing units came in place with the city of Reno. So we're looking into that further internally, as well as the other RRIF administrators at the city of Reno, Sparks, and Washoe, and have further discussion exactly what that means. And if that's something worth pursuing in the RRIF GAM as a separate line item for affordable housing to come up as an impact fee or something to a lesser effect of a multi-unit type of housing fee generation.
So Dale, this is Brian. Just want to make sure I'm understanding that process. So on that flow chart that's at the beginning, and we were talking about the vehicle miles traveled and how those calculations were in the green boxes. The next meeting would be focused on how we're establishing the blue boxes, right, on that, which is that cost.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other member announcements or updates? All right, hearing none, I don't believe a action is needed on this agenda item either. So let's move on to agenda item number 7, public comment. Leanne, any public comment we received?
No public comment received.
Right, quick and easy. Agenda item number 8, adjournment. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Shelley. Second by Craig. All in favor, please say aye.
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 If not.
Thank you. The time is 9 a.m. on the dot. Thank you all.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Sorry
Thank
for
you.
technical difficulties.